Hello and welcome to the 3/4 swap world. This is my 1992 Toyota pickup SR5, originally 3.0 5-speed. I'm gonna go ahead and do a full detailed talk about this swap here, so you guys know what I use, etc, etc. So this video is a strictly detailed, informative video. If you guys are doing a 3/4 swap, take out your book and start writing things down, because I get so many questions and it's just very hard to answer them 1,000 times. So let's go ahead and discuss what I did. 92 X-Cab SR5 5-speed 3.0 originally, and our donor rig is off of a 2000 Tacoma 5-speed as well, non-California spec. We went ahead and used the engine, the harness, the ECU, and everything on that engine on this swap. The harness, the crossover, and the exhaust was all built by John. John's local. He's in Alaska here. He's a 3/4 swap guru as well. He has his own Facebook group page where he discusses informative 3/4 swap info. So he's the one who built the harness. I won't talk much into detail about those specs because those are out of my spectrum. The engine received a full top-end teardown, so everything got rebuilt from top-end up. New head gasket, all that fun stuff. Obviously I can't show you guys, but it's been fully rebuilt top-end using the highest quality OEM head gasket. Oil pan, we went ahead and used a 3.0 oil pan, so you want to use the original 3.0 oil pan, and we also want to use the 3.0 engine mounts off your 3.0 that you remove. Everything on the transmission stays the same. Transmission, everything else stays the same. I did went ahead and put a new throwout bearing. The throwout bearing must stay the same. It's a 3.0 throwout bearing, so all that stays the same. 3.0 engine, no, 3.4 engine butts up right to it. We did went ahead and use a 3.4 flywheel, and I used a 3.4 ACE clutch, pressure plate ACE clutch, throwout bearing, no pilot bearing, all brand new. They are directly bolt on to the 3/4 block. There's no modification, nothing like that. You do want to use your 3.4 flywheel bolts. The 3/4 flywheel bolt is smaller than the 3.0, and you can take a look at them when you pull them out. So besides all that, you can't really see anything below there. I'm trying to discuss everything that's below that you guys can't see. I'll start showing you guys everything else that you can see. While I had the engine out, you don't have to do this, but I went ahead and put a new ACE clutch slave cylinder just for the heck of it, because you might as well do it. You can use a typical 3.0, it doesn't change anything like that. Exhaust system, I don't want to crawl down there because I know you guys see my videos, but I made a video on my blue truck where I show you guys the exhaust system. This is the same exhaust system we have on this truck. Downpipe, down to a MagnaFlow cat converter. We're still running two O2 sensor, two 3.4 O2 sensor, and then we go down to a Flowmaster 50 series, and everything is 2.5 inch piping, which is amazing. Sounds great, nothing wrong with it. So besides all of that, all the gritty stuff, let's go ahead and move to the engine and talk about what I did and all the fancy nitty-bitty stuff. Now keep in mind, this is not a super high-end rebuild, but it's considered a high-end. It's not a high-end rebuild, but it's definitely up there. If I was to make this a full high-end rebuild, the whole long block would have been brand new, but this is it's pretty Gucci, guys. Take a look. Give you guys a quick look before we go into details on this engine swap. Super clean, super easy. The rubber grommet is from Toy Only Swap. ECU fits into the kick panel where the 3.0 goes. There's no way to mount it, but it just goes into the side panel, and then it stays in there pretty nice. On this setup, We went ahead and delete the AC system. We also didn't install the cruise control. We also got rid of the whole ADD system on the axle and put front locking hubs, ASIN hubs, brand new. So those are some things we did that you guys won't be able to see. We'll start from this side and make our way back. The igniter, there's already a 10 mil right here. You can bolt that in, and then there's a hole right here, or you can drill a new hole and put a bolt in there. You have to bend these brackets a little bit, but that the 3/4 igniter can sit right there. I also like using these little hose clamp, and you can use them wherever you feel like you want to have the hose held down. Super simple. The 80 amp right here, you have to remove that wire because that wiring usually goes onto the 3.0 battery. You have to extend that wire, which is right here, and you can wire that back to the positive, or you can tap it down to where the starter went. So this setup here, I brought it down to where the starter, so that just goes onto the starter terminal where it gets power from the main power. 3.0 power steering hose. These two are the 3.0, they stay the same, no changes there. You also want to use a 3.0 banjo bolt. The 3.0 banjo bolt is slightly smaller, and 3/4 power steering pump, everything stays the same, no modification needed. This cold air intake is from Toy Only Swap. They sell the intake along with the filter, along with the hose. One thing they don't include, this intake system, you can button up. It butts up to the old style MAF. There's the two types of MAF for the 3/4, and they button right up to it. This is the newer 3/4 MAF, and for the correct, they don't include a housing. So this housing is a special housing from a Mazda setup. I won't go into detail about that, but we'll discuss that in another video. So this is a piece that I'm borrowing from John, and I went ahead and ordered my own, which will be here next week. Once it comes in, I'll talk more about that. Mounts really good. It has a support bracket right here that goes to the side of the head, which is 14 mil. 3.0 engine mounts, like I said. All new spark plug. Coil packs are all news. Spark plug wires are news, still work great. Throttle body got cleaned up. New IAC gasket, all that stuff was cleaned up. There's a couple hoses here that you guys need to know. This is the fuel return line. You must use fuel line. Fuel return line. Fuel pressure regulator is right down there. This one right here is the fuel vapor line. This one goes to the evap right here. Okay, and like I said, I like to use these little hose clamp. There's already room for it, so you can just put these 10 mils and hold them in place. Makes it super nice and sweet. The heater hose are right here. This one is from Napa, part number 9815, and this is original 3.0, and then this hose here is also a replacement. You have to get a new one. This is a Gates. I forgot the part number on top of my head, but I'll put it down in the video description. It goes right there. Timing belt has been replaced. Went ahead and put a new timing belt, Gates, and then new parts as well. The water pump is a brand new one. The water pump is an ASIN water pump. This one is a T100 water pump where it doesn't have the oil cooler line. We went ahead and installed a oil cooler delete, and we got that from Yoda Shop. The fan clutch right there is originally 3.4, and the fan itself is a 3.0. You don't want to use a 3.4 fan because it's too tall, but everything bolts up together. All right, all the belts for the power steering and the alternator, they are same size as the 3.4. You don't need to go buy new sizes, anything like that. The upper radiator hose is a stock 3.4, and this one here particularly is, let me see, I don't have the part number, but it's a Gates any upper 3.4 hose. So there it is right there. It's a Gates 21534. The lower radiator hose is from Napa. That one didn't require any modification. I don't remember the part number, but I'll go ahead and list it down in the video. I'll put it down the bottom screen for y'all. I'm not running a 3.0 fan shroud. You can use a 3.0 fan shroud. I just didn't have one, and I usually don't like running them. They just kind of get in the way when you do maintenance. This radiator here is a Champion. This is Champion 3-row. This is specifically made for 3.0, so it bolts right up, and I bought this through Toy Only Swap. Very important note is that when you buy this, on the box of these radiator, they say to use only green coolant. Don't use red coolant. I believe people were saying red was making their stuff rusty. It bolts right up. I did have to make one modification, which is right here. You guys see how they have these tabs right here? The one on the bottom had to be cut a little bit because it was hitting the power steering pump right there. You guys see that? So I had to cut that piece, because if I didn't, the hose for the radiator wouldn't line up. Now these brackets here are for general universal use. You don't really need them. If you install a fan shroud, this is where they will bolt onto. So a Toy Only Swap radiator. Radiator reservoir bottle. This is from Toy Only Swap as well. The reason why we use their bottle, because we are using their battery tray along with their EVAP mount, and a 3.0 reservoir is too big. I don't like the cap that they come with, so I always use the old cap, and it fits better. And again, like I said, the battery tray, the EVAP mount right here is Toy Only Swap. Toy Only Swap is a prominent company in 3.4 swap. I recommend you guys go onto their site, check out their product, and check out any info they have posted on there, because a lot of people are asking me, oh, who's this, who's that? It's Toy Only Swap. They've been doing it for years. Negative terminal, I went ahead and looped it down, and it goes to the bottom of the block on this side versus going to the block right under the oil filter, because it gets super dirty down there. Positive goes to the starter, and then you also have a small ground wire that goes to the side of the fender. 3.4 alternator, no modification needed. On your truck, the 3.0 trucks, they come in two types of plug. Some trucks, they have the 3.0, they have the oval, no, they have the round plug, and some of them have the oval plug. The oval plugs are what 3.4 uses, and the newer style. This is a 92, so it had the round plug, so I had to cut the round plug off and then tap in the oval plug. Those oval plugs, you can find them at the junkyard, or you can find them at most, parts rig and stuff like that. You just cut it and splice them up. It's only 3 wires, it's only 3 colors, so you can't mess it up. Splice it up, tape it up, and then make it all nice and clean. Dipstick has to be relocated to the side of the block, so this engine block did need to be drilled, and so this is a T100. The original dipstick hole is right there where that bolt is. That's been drilled and shut off with that bolt. Oil pressure sensor unit, we are using a 3.0 oil pressure sensor unit right there in order for our tack to work. On our tack, we have an SR5 tack, so we are using the on the back of the tack, you have to weld a 10K, solder a 10K resistor, and plenty of info on how to do that online. This intake manifold here is from Toy Only Swap. It looks normal, but it's not a normal one. This intake manifold runs 350 from Toy Only Swap, and they have milled it So what they did was they milled it so that it's smaller in height. They did it one at this section, and at the section where it goes down to the main. So it's officially 3/8 smaller so that it doesn't rub. Now you can do this method, you can do a 3/8 body lift, or in the past what I had to do was cut this frame brace, but that doesn't really make a difference because when it rubs, it wants to rub around right here. So I recommend going with this setup. It's a bit more, but I think it's worth it versus doing a body lift, or you can do a hood scoop, which is another project itself. With the purchase of the intake manifold from Toy Only Swap, they did include their bracket right here. This isn't the one, but the bracket that was included doesn't work with this throttle body. It was too long over here, and whenever you try to press gas, it would hit it. So I went ahead and used the original one from this setup, and I didn't have to do any modification to it. Usually on the Forerunners throttle body, you have to hammer this piece so that's more angle over here, but this one here worked out fine. You can see plenty of adjustment. Let me show you some of these hoses so you know what hoses are. This is the fuel pressure regulator. This hose right here goes to the evap. This one is super long when it comes from Toy Only Swap, so you can just cut it to your desired length. This hose right here is just right here. This one comes here and it goes to the valve cover. Right here, it goes right here, goes right here. This is the stock one. I kind of wish I might get something that's more better, but works. Since we kept the ABS system, John said that this diagnostic box had to stay. Most of the time when you do the ABS delete and all that other delete, you get rid of the dial box. The brake booster check valve, this is the 3.0. All the hose is from the 3.0, so you can just take that 3.0 one and just find out which angle you need and cut it to your length. You can see I have 190 and then one long 90 right here, and this is all from 3.0. You can just cut it. Brake booster, all this stuff stays the same, don't need to touch any of it. The evap mount stays right here, it's nice and tight. This is the harness for it. So really simple. There's a vacuum line that just kind of drains. This one here just kind of drains down there like that. So this is the stock setup. And then there's this little VSV right here. This is a little module right here. I like to bend that tab right there. That tab is usually bent in. Straighten that tab out, and then you can just bolt it right to the fender well or any spots that you want to. You see all these little empty spots? You can use them, or you can drill it and put it over here, but this is a good spot for it. Plenty of room right here. Alright guys, other than that, everything else stays the same. Plenty of clearance for the alternator. The alternator doesn't hit the steering rack right there. When you prep your steering, when you prep your engine bay, you want to remove that plastic column protector. All right. I have videos of all that prepping that's needed when you do it. This is a nice radiator, but be careful when you just got done off a ride or you just got done driving. Don't lean on it because this thing gets super hot. It's all aluminum, so it gets super hot. Right now it's warm to the touch, but when it's not warm to the touch, you can burn yourself. All right. That's about it right there. There's really nothing else. Everything else is all stock 3.4 that has just been refreshed. The injectors, you guys can't see it, but these are the brown injectors. We did went ahead and sent them out to Injector Master, and they did a fresh rebuild, re-clean on it. So those injectors are good to go for the next 100,000 miles. So everything is solid, good to go. So let me see what else is there to discuss. That's pretty much it right there, really. 3-4 swap. This is a brand new battery. Brand new battery. This is a battery. The size for this is a 24F. 24F will put your terminals, hot terminals facing this way, negative terminal facing this way. I had this battery in there. This was a new battery that came with the truck, and you can see the terminals are facing this way. So when I put that battery in with the terminals hot, negative, it was too high right here, and the hood would not close properly. You can still close it, but there was like a gap right here. So I decided to just go buy a new battery, and after installing this battery, it shuts nice and flush, and I'll just keep this battery in the garage as a spare, or whenever I want to use my air compressor. So that is a simple 3-4 swap, but nicely done 3-4 swap. Very simple, you know. Doesn't have a ton of vacuum line hose like 3.0 and all that fun stuff like the EGR stuff. Very simple engine to work on. Show you guys the bottom of it. You can see the hot wire goes down there. Oh, there's the part number for the Napa, 8453 for that lower hose. You can see the positive wire, and then that wire right there is the negative wire. And they go right there. The fuel line is right here. Originally the fuel line, you flip it that way on a 3-4. All you have to do is just flip it towards the passenger, and it just goes right down to your main 3.0 hard line. No issue whatsoever. Alright. I wonder if there's a leak right here. There's something kind of wet. I'll check that later. This section goes down towards the tranny. You have 3 plugs. You have your transfer case speed sensor. You have your reverse and your 4-wheel drive switch. That's all there is to it. You have a harness that goes down towards your driver's side, which is this one right here. That has 2 plugs, up and downstream O2 sensor. You can see that's the harness right there. That's the oil cooler delete for the 3.4. That's optional. If you guys don't like doing it, you can just keep it the stock 3.4 oil cooler. As I mentioned earlier, this is the SR5 gauge. So you do have to take out the tack and do a tack mod behind it. If you don't have a tack on my 1990 blue-green truck, I don't have the tack, and I had to run the 3.4 oil pressure gauge because I don't have an oil pressure gauge right here. I have just a light that comes on when there's low or something like that. So that's all you have to do. Everything else works just as well. As I mentioned earlier, the 3.4 ECU fits right into that kick panel, and then that kick panel cover fits nice and firm, doesn't really move at all. And then you also have OBD2 now, and OBD2 I just put some tap screws, and then I button up right under where that speaker box is, so I can still remove the ECU cover and it doesn't interfere with that OBD2. Or you can decide to put it wherever you want, but now you have OBD2, you can use that for check engine lights and stuff like that. So there it is. Go ahead and give you guys a quick start, and we'll conclude this video. Kind of a cold start still. Haven't drove it to that yet. Very nice and quiet inside the vehicle. I've done 234 miles since I done this swap about 4 days ago. Temperature does work. It's just not up to temp right now. It's a cold start.